Is that not sad to be excited about it? It's a lot of extra work, but then, I mean, I turned in the school reimburses me for driving to all these schools, which was about 700 and some odd miles. So, but they only reimburse like at 30 cents a gallon, which is 1/10 of what it's costing for a gallon of gas right now. That's pathetic, isn't it? Oops, sorry, it's recording. My bad. I got so tickled. You know, my 8 o'clock class, they don't come on time. Jackie came in about 8:02. Rodney came in about 8:05. Reed came in about 8:08. Caleb showed up at 8:20. It's just, there's only 30 minutes left of class, and he's just sitting there going. But I don't go back and reteach what he wasn't here for, so can't do that. All right. Let's see what's happening in the world. And, you know, the really interesting news is I just got Sunday, my big monster class turned in. Well, I was missing about 10. I got about 82 character analysis to grade. I got to finish all summaries first. So let's see. I wonder, I'm curious. So when I get excited about grading your summaries, I need to realize that in that monster class, you know how many things I have to grade? 343 items to grade. Yeah, that's a lot. And I'm not sure how to, it's a literature class and it's a survey of ancient lit to the Renaissance. How do you, and I don't like giving big multiple choice tests. Because people cheat. That's just kind of how it's going to be. I'm sorry, you know. So they have study guides that do questions over the readings. I could take it one reading and that's not going to cut it either. So there's post. All right. 4 minutes. I don't want to be in that game. Got about 3 minutes. Hi, Miss Hockenberry. I taught her both grade in English, freshman and sophomore, when I was out there in Newville. Hey, Lauren. So my goal today is to print out the rest of at least another section and maybe a half of another section to get summaries done, and then I'm going to grade some of not their character analysis, but some stuff that was due on the 22nd that I have not graded yet in that big class. It's called Grade. Good morning, Isaiah. Oh, wow. See, you're so much better than my 8 o'clock class. I just have to tell you that. Everybody's here. All here. Okay. It makes it so much easier when it's tough. All right. They're slowly moving in. They're still coming in at Newville. It was fun going out there. I got to see there's still teachers out there from when I was there. So I got to see them. And I went out early and I said, okay, so have y'all broken ground on the new high school, new schools? And they were like, they'd actually had laid out with flags and posts, you know, where it's supposed to be. And the kids all pulled them up and they were like, don't do that. That's part of the building process. Just set us back by doing that. Yeah, nothing else to do in small towns except go find Goatman under the bridge. Goatman under a bridge out in the area. Didn't y'all have Goatman? No Goatman? No odd things? Well, when you're from Lubbock, it's a little bit different. Did y'all ever go to the Lubbock Cemetery and do scary things? Or how about run around the golf course at Lubbock Country Club? I did that when I was in college at Tech. I never went to the cemetery. I don't know if I'd go to the cemetery now. It's not in a great section, you know. That would not be a wise thing to do. Okay. Log into Blackboard. That's what we're gonna do. Okay. All right. Hopefully, you're still hopping around, huh? Is that Pacer hopping? Did I remember that correctly? That was Pacer? Yeah. Okay. I've laughingly said that when I get a name like Pacer, I have no idea if it's a guy or girl. I said I couldn't tell from the writing. Sometimes I have to guess. I said, because you're little bitty tiny. What I'm seeing is little bitty teeny tiny up on the screen. So, but I do recognize the room because I taught in that room for like 15 years. So. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up. Okay. And we're going to talk about the rough outline, which is a required document. It's like the first draft of your argumentative essay. So one of the things you need to realize is it looks like there's not a lot happening over the next 2 weeks, correct? They're just little things, okay? So like today we're talking about integrating quotes, and we're also, it actually said something else, but we're going to talk about the rough outline. The rough outline shows that it's due next Wednesday. For the high schools, I'm going to put it back to next Friday. I haven't changed that date yet. Don't panic, okay? I'll get around to doing it. It's a low priority item for me to change that due date. But I already know it's due on the 19th and not the 17th. But for you guys at SPC, we have school Monday and Tuesday. You're going to go home, right? Most likely, early? You're going to, huh? You're going home, okay. So you need to turn it in on Friday. If you're here in town, you don't have to have it until Tuesday when class is, and you can bring it to class, and I will go over with whoever's here in class. I will go over the rough outline. So you've got an actual extra Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You've got an extra almost 4 days. So that's an advantage. So you need to be sure you have it done. Because none of the schools have school the entire week of Thanksgiving. College doesn't work that way. Yes, we start later and get out earlier for the semesters, but we don't get all those extra holidays. Like Abernathy was off yesterday for Columbus Day. Wow. If you hadn't discovered us, we wouldn't have Columbus Day, would we? Okay, so that's what's coming up. This week, we have an apostrophe quiz. So on Thursday, we're actually going to talk about the works cited, and we're going to review for the apostrophe quiz. And it is on Friday. So the high schools, you guys need to take it during class time. I really got on my 8 o'clock class because a lot of those kids just want to take it when they get home at night. Guess what? They have crappy internet. That's not my fault. You need to take it during class time. It's purposely supposed to be for class time for them. You guys have lives, and we aren't in class together. They're in class with somebody all 5 days. So they need to be handling that, okay? So apostrophe quiz is on Friday. It opens up at 8 a.m. It's going to shut down at midnight, so be sure you take it. Be sure you have those 2 pages, because you can ace the apostrophe quiz with that, okay? And then next week, we have, I can't remember. We're on the last page of the syllabus, I know that much. So next week, we're going to talk about this rebuttals. We're going to do very little bit about that, but we will talk about misplaced modifiers, dangling modifiers, and then on Thursday, it's work on the rough outline, submit rough outline. But you need to be sure that you've got research done. So if you need to come in, bring a laptop, you can do research. If you're having trouble finding stuff, I can work one-on-one with you, or I can point you guys in the right direction, all right? And I do want to tell you that when I was grading the summaries, and this section is, all the summaries are graded, they're done, okay? So just realize that when it comes around to that argumentative essay, you'll be the last class that gets done, okay? But what I noticed was some of you didn't pay the best attention when Ms. Pineda told you how to do this, and when I told you how to do this, which is get the right citation when you're in a source. And so what I spent doing the first about 10 or 15 I graded summaries out of this class, I went and found the articles online. And I'm like, well, I don't know where you got your things. So I want to kind of remind you what you're doing, okay? So in databases, And it's, opposing viewpoints is not a problem. Opposing viewpoints defaults to MLA, so there should be no reason to get it wrong if you're using opposing viewpoints as a source. But the tough one is Academic Search Complete. You can see it up here. It's the one that's EBSCO. And so for everybody who got one back and I said, this is the wrong citation, it looks like you just went with the Brazilian National Standards, which is the first one listed. So that's incorrect. Service is temporarily unavailable. That's interesting. Well, we'll come over here. Guess what? Okay. So, I am in. I've been in for a while. Okay. So I'm in an article. I did curfews, okay? So juvenile curfews and the major confusion over minor rights. Okay. I'm just going to pick this one. And it seems to be a fairly popular topic. I think I have more people writing about curfews than any other topic. So when you open up the topic, you're not going to get the whole essay. You get an abstract, you get a little bit of information. If you want the full text, you have to come over here and get it. But when you click on that PDF full text, you don't get the MLA style citation, okay? And you can download that. So what you have to do is come over to Cite. On this right-hand side, you've got all these wonderful little icons. And right beneath the one that's a floppy disk, which is hilarious, because nobody uses floppy disk anymore, right? There's the word Cite. So you click on Cite. And when it opens up, the first one that shows up is ABNT, which is the Brazilian National Standard. And you can't use that one. You have to scroll down all the way down to MLA, and there it is. And you could send it to yourself, or you can highlight it. That's not the wrong. There we go. Highlight it and copy it. I'm going to actually, I did this early in another class, so I'm going to put it in here. And there it is, juvenile curfews and major confusion over juvenile rights. And look, because I already had one in there, it held on to the thing. You'll notice there's one thing wrong with this right now. They need to be in alphabetical order. So I'm going to go Control Z. I'm going to come up here where that one's at, and I'm going to paste it in. And now I've got it in alphabetical order. Okay? So if I go out, a works cited is always in alphabetical order. You can see how they look just alike, and it says juvenile and PRAL. And this is one that's also about curfew. And that's all you have to do, but you have to tell it you want MLA. Now, if you choose to not use a database from SPC, if you go to the internet and find a blog, oh my God, you're going to have to figure out how to do it. I'm not going to teach you how to do a blog off the internet because I don't consider that an acceptable source. To make an A on the argumentative essay, you have to have 2 sources from SPC. You can have more than 2 sources. And those don't have to be from SPC, but to be eligible to get an A, you don't automatically get the A just because you have 2 sources, okay? But to be eligible for the A, you have to have 2 sources from the SPC databases, okay? So that's how it is. Because you need to know, in college, you need to know how to use the college library, okay? And there are books in there. If you want to go in and if you can find a book, you don't have to limit yourself to databases. They're just, if you go into books, you're not going to get the citation. So if you don't know how to do a website or something, don't think you can just copy something off of opposing viewpoints and use that and just change the title. I'm going to figure that out, that that's not part of that, okay? You know, I wasn't born yesterday. And by the way, remember, this paper's going to go through Turnitin, which is a plagiarism checker, just like all the other papers. All right? And even, I'm probably going to put the draft, I don't have it in going through Turnitin, but I may just to help try to catch somebody who's unconsciously plagiarizing, okay? We'll go with the notion that they're not consciously doing it. That's cheating then, okay? But that's what you need to do. So make sure if you're in Academic Search Complete, you go to Cite, scroll down till you see MLA, and it's 8th edition, which is not the current one, but it's acceptable, because I haven't bothered to learn 9 myself, so, all right? So now let's talk about, you got a wonderful document called the rough outline, okay? It's 3 pages long. This is what's due. Argument essay outline. Let me show it over here, and then I've got one up here. The biggest problem I have is that this document is available in week 12. That's when it's due. So there's a copy of this online so that you don't have to, create it yourself. My recommendation is that you go through and you delete all the lines. And some of you work much better if you can write by hand. Am I correct in thinking that you're more comfortable with pen on paper or pencil on paper? When I first got into getting my master's, I did so much work on paper, because computers, well, that's been 30 some odd years ago. Computers were not as easy to use back then. Now they are. I very rarely will draft on paper anymore, except for my syllabi, and what happens is I print out the last time I taught the class, I print out the syllabi, and then I go through and handwrite in the changes, and then I go on and change it that way. And sometimes I still don't get it right, okay? So, this is what it looks like. You're going to see 3 pages, and if you fill this out and do an honest attempt at filling out all 3 pages, you have a first draft done, okay? So you're ahead of the game. Now, we're going to go over here, and I think I actually I've started one in here where I'm doing the death penalty. I'm going to delete the lines because they just mess it up so badly, okay? All right, so it begins talking about, here's the essay title. Please don't have it be a question. Please let me know in the title your stand on the topic. Curfews are not effective. That lets me know you're against curfew. The death penalty must be abolished. That lets me know. So in your title, definitely state it must give your side. I'm going to put that in here. Give your stance on the topic, okay? Because what I noticed, and I haven't finished this class, but when I was looking at the thesis statements with the points, I had a lot of students in my 8 a.m. class who would go, well, I'm going to write about curfews and what they do, and they'd go, some curfews are good, some curfews are bad. I still didn't know what their stance was on the topic. The thesis statement must clearly say the death penalty should be abolished because it is not a deterrent, it costs too much money, and it's not administered equitably, which happens to be the thesis I'm using on this sample one, okay? So the opening, give a horrible antidote, which would be about some poor prisoner who was given lethal injection, and it didn't kill him, it just put him in excruciating pain. That would be, if your point's going to be it's cruel and it's an inhumane punishment, which is also an argument against it, okay? So thesis, state the side you support plus 3 reasons. My big trick now, all of a sudden, I'm saying thesis instead of thesis. I'm combining 3 and thesis together, okay? So, the death penalty should be abolished because it is not a deterrent, costs too much money, is not administered equitably. You don't need to highlight. I'm just doing that to kind of show you the 3 sections of the thesis. So my claim is the death penalty should be abolished. That's my claim. And the 3 colored points are how I'm going to prove that it should be abolished. That's all you have to do in that section. So like I say, you're going to want to go through, be working in Word so you can delete all the lines. So it's not a deterrent, okay? So it's not a deterrent. Supporting idea might be, you see details is going to come up there. Supporting idea 1 is going to be, I didn't create this document. I used somebody else's because it's easier. 1 would be, not people. Oh, it's nice to have autocorrect there. So, under 1, people don't worry about being assessed the death penalty for killing someone. The details, you give an example. You know, if you have evidence that says, okay, what you might have is you found a source that supports it, you could just copy in source and give me the title of the source. That's the details, okay? That's something as simple as that. But what that shows me when I look at those is that, yes, you've done research. There will be somebody who'll turn it in and it'll be mostly blank. And I'm going to go, this is not going to be a good paper. This can only end in tears. It's a quote from a movie. Don't know, any idea? Probably not. Yeah, if you turn this in and it doesn't have hardly anything on it, you're not going to do well on the paper. I'm just going to tell you, okay? Supporting idea. So if you don't have a second supporting idea, you don't fill that out. Does that make sense? If you don't have one, you can't do it. You can't have details. And it's possible because we're not doing that long of a An essay. If I were asking you to write 1,000 words or 1,500 words, yes, you would need multiple supporting details. But if you've got one good supporting detail, that's enough. Okay? So see how I got rid of those? All I did was get rid of the lines. There's details. Okay, so then we go down to the second body paragraph, and then we see it costs too much money. That's the topic sentence. Actually, I want to change it up. And by the way, you'll notice it's capital, like it's in capital letter. It's not the same thing as Capitol with an OL, that's a building. Okay? Capital punishment costs too much money. Okay? So, and I actually have done a little bit more. Supporting idea 1 is all of the appeals cost money. So you would have actual cost of an execution, and then the details would be the source where you found that information. That's found source, okay? So this is what I'm looking for on this. And then supporting idea, the cost of life imprisonment. Nope, that's not C, that's B. And then you'd have the source here. So you can just give me those sources, that'll work, okay? I've kind of messed it up. And you might only have 2 points. All right, so that's it. So you get rid of those. Topic sentence 3 is not administered equitably. Frequently, that didn't happen. I thought I hit return back there. Get rid of frequently here. Okay, I'll just pretend that those lines are gone. Minorities tend to get the death penalty more frequently than whites. Males tend to get it more frequently than females. See, I've got that. So I would have details, some kind of statistic, and that's out there on the death penalty. Anybody want to change the death penalty? Feel free to. Just send me a quick message, because I'm giving you so much on it. Details supporting the mentally challenged also get the death penalty. And in fact, right now, there is a challenge in the Supreme Court about a gentleman with an IQ of 69 who's set for execution, and the whole point is that he's not mentally capable of knowing what he did wrong. So there's evidence out there for all of these, okay? And then D if you've got it. And then the fourth body paragraph, which is the fifth paragraph of the essay, the topic sentence acknowledging that are arguments on the opposing side. So many people believe that the death penalty serves a vital purpose in our society. Good luck trying to find that. I'm just telling you, okay? All right. So counter-argument, 1, it makes cities safer. Somebody's going to say, well, the death penalty makes cities safer. And, okay, you're going to say, there's no evidence. You're going to go, it's back to that, it's not a deterrent. So that would be that one. So you've got to have the rebuttal, and you're not going to have necessarily several counter-arguments, okay? So you might just, all you have to deal with is one. That's all I'm asking for is one counter-argument, all right? And then the conclusion, you rephrase the thesis. So the capital punishment should be made illegal in the United States because it doesn't prevent people from killing other people. The expense of executing a prisoner is immense compared to life in prison. And many times it is, that punishment is given to non-whites and non-males. And then, so I rephrase the thesis, and then instead of stopping there, you can go back. So that's one sentence, you rephrase the thesis, switch it up a little bit. Don't switch the order, switch the words you use, and then give a summary of the essay's 3 supporting points. So go back and say, restate, because it is not a deterrent, it doesn't keep people from killing, go ahead and say that again. Then you've got 4 sentences in your thesis, and you still haven't finished. So you got to close it. You can tie back to your intro or give a prediction. Probably not necessary in the death penalty. You can suggestion. It's not. We're not actually calling for action or quotation. And so my suggestion is, if you're writing about something and you don't know, have a clue, well, what I could use a quote in there. You don't have to have a quote from SPC for there. You can just go in here and go, quotes against the death penalty. And there's a lot more quotes against it than there are for it. Oh, look, that's all right. So, I looked at, many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment. And that's by J.R.R. Tolkien. And that's, look at that. That's probably got 25 words in it. That's a good quote to use on death penalty. Anybody want to switch? Okay. All right. So don't be afraid to do that. But then you would have to figure out how to quote this source. So to do that, you're going to have to go to Purdue OWL, or like New Deal. You can get Ms. Hockenberry to show you how to do this. Okay. All right. I'm just picking on her. MLA formatting, and it can give you, when you scroll down, creating a works cited list using the 9th edition, it gives you the basic information. There's, let's see, title of source. It used to be a lot more friendly to use. This is not quite as friendly as it used to be. And be careful of those citation machines. You can just scroll down. Okay, title of container. If you scroll down, you're eventually going to see online. Okay, so if you're quoting from Goodreads, I'm just scrolling really fast, URLs, and it does in-text citations. So basically what you always tend to give on a source is you need to give the creator of it. So you're not going to quote the person, Tolkien, you're not going to quote Tolkien. You're going to say, but you're going to say, I would say according to J.R.R. Tolkien, and then give that quote at the end, and then after it I would put Goodreads quotes on capital punishment, and then and that would be my source. But you need the date you accessed it, you need the title of the page, you need, if there's a copyright for when the page was created. When you go down and look at this, the quotes, I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and I see previous one too. API, about us, terms, help, authors, advertise. It says 2021 Goodreads right here. Okay? So that's the actual place that put this out there. So that's how you can do that. So don't be afraid to use a quote from the internet, but don't think that's going to count as SPC. It's not. Okay? So I'll show you down at the bottom. Right there. Always go to the bottom of the page if you want to see if there's a copyright date. And that gives you the date it was done. Okay? So that is how to do the rough outline. Okay? Again, due next Friday. And you guys have Monday, the weekend and Monday, for you to bring it in to me. But if you don't show up for class, then it will be late. And it is a required element. If you go look at the syllabus, it says that there were 3 different papers. That was the narrative, the compare and contrast, and this one had the outline. There were worth 25 points. We didn't do an outline on the summary because we didn't need an outline. I didn't think we needed one, okay? So I'm going to go into course content really quick. I'm going to change that and go into week 12 and change that due date right now, okay? So don't worry about, you guys don't worry so long as you bring it to class on Tuesday, okay? I'm going to change it to Tuesday. There we go. Okay. By 11:59. So you got plenty of time. Okay? So that's what's coming up. So now let's look at, you've got 3 documents about integrating quotes. There's one that says quoting by Mrs. Thompson in MLA. Okay, this is it. This is the one by me. And so this is just to help you do it. It's on where your hand is on, yeah, the right hand. It looks like somebody wrote it in Word. It's me. Okay. So, in-text citations. So when you quote in a research paper, what you need to do is you need to integrate the quote with your writing. If you just drop a quote in, that's a very elementary way to put a quote in your paper. We need to be a little bit more sophisticated. We are writing for college now. So this is these are ways you can integrate it. So you have an in-text citation referencing the author in the sentence. So you can see where it says, Quan points out that the Fourth Amendment does not give employees any protection from employers' unreasonable searches and seizures. Quan is the author's last name. one of the sad and depressing things I saw in summaries was that people would say, Mary and Jane talk about this. Never refer to authors by their first name only. If you were to walk in and say Patty to me and address me, that's very informal. Okay? We're writing formal documents. The summary was a formal document. You never refer to an author only by a first name. You have to use first and last name, the appropriate gender or pronoun, or you can say the author, or you could actually refer to the article. So that's how we do it. We have to be formal. And you're going to be doing a lot of formal writing when you're in college, so we need to make sure we're doing it correctly. So Quan is the author, and what you see right here at the end where you've got the parentheses and the number 6, that is parenthetical reference, okay? That's how the reader knows where to find it in the article that you found it. So I would look at this. If I see this quote in a paper, when you quote in your research papers, I will flip over to your works cited, which is not part of that 600 word count. It's a document separate in a way. And I will look alphabetically. It's in alphabetical order by author's last name. And I will look for Quan, and I'll see that. I will see it there, and I can tell. And it might say, part of the information on the citation might say pages 5 through 15. So I know it's on page 6. Okay? So that's how you do it. The works cited allows the reader to duplicate your information if they want to. They can go find those articles. And trust me, on the summaries, I was pulling up your article. I went to where you turned the draft, where you got the extra credit for turning in the copy of your article. I went to that and looked at it and said, how'd you get this wrong? I don't know where you got your citation from, but you didn't use the MLA. But a lot of them were because they were from EBSCO. And then we defaulted to Brasilia once, okay. So the author's named in a signal phrase. Ordinarily, writers introduce the material being cited with a signal phrase. Remember, the first sentence in the summary was supposed to say, in the article, give the title in quotation marks, by, give the author's name or names. The authors discussed, that's a signal phrase. You can introduce the quotes in your essay that way, but you don't want to do every single quote that way. That gets boring, and particularly if you quote more than once from an author. And by the way, having 2 quotes from the same author doesn't count as 2 quotes. It counts as 1 quote from 1 source. So when we talk about 2 quotes in the paper at least, they have to be from 2 different sources, which means they have to both be from SPC to get the A. So in addition to preparing readers for the source, the signal phrase allows you to keep the parenthetical citation brief. And if you think about it, if you go in the article, and we'll say I've got 10 words and all I've done is the article, by, and you've got the author's name and it's 2 letters, I'm now to 13 words. That's over 1/6 of your essay just in introducing that quote. So if you're having trouble with numbers, that's the way to do it, but you don't want to do it every time. Anytime after that, you need to do it where you refer to the author in parenthetical reference. Were you taught this? No? 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 Okay, so pay attention, that's all I can say. So this is the first time teaching it. So here we have another example. Frederick Lane reports that employers do not necessarily have to use software to monitor how their employees use the web. Employers can use a hidden video camera pointed at an employee's monitor and even position a camera so that a number of monitors can be viewed at the same time. You know what? In that ITV room at New Deal, or even at Post, you can turn on the cameras in the back and move them around so that you can check what people are doing on their computers. Right, Ms. Hockenberry? Mr. Rathburn? You can do that. I didn't. Okay. So, here's your signal phrase, Frederick Lane report. Okay. There's your quote, and there's a colon. That's a good way to do it. And here's the quote. They've broken it up. Use a hidden video camera so that for some reason, those quotation marks are next to the wrong word. Be sure that when you do quotation marks, that they are right next to, you don't have a space between quotation marks and the first letter or the first word of the quote. They have to be right next to each other so that the quotes face the right direction. I don't know why that was facing the opposite direction. And so 147 is the page number from the book. Notice that the period follows the parenthetical reference. Parenthetical reference is always part of the sentence where the quote occurs. It's always at the end of the sentence, and the period to end the sentence goes after a parenthetical reference. It doesn't go inside the closing quotation mark. Okay? It's not dialogue. There's a difference between quoting and dialogue. I think I've got that covered. And I will say it multiple times, so hopefully it will penetrate, okay? Authors named in parentheses. If you've already used that integration, the first time you quote from somebody and you want to quote from them again because it was a really good quote, then you need to put the author's name in parentheses. So companies can monitor employees' every keystroke without legal penalty, but they may have to combat low morale as a result. Lane is the author, page 129. Because there might have been a space between the previous quote and the next time you quote from somebody, you just have to give the last name and parenthetical reference. You don't have to put P in there. You don't need to tell me it's on page 129. If I see Lane in 129, I know that has to be 129. What else the heck would it be? Now this differs. When you're talking, let's go back up here to this one. If you're doing APA, what APA values is the year something was published. So this you would not have. This is how it would look if it were APA. Excuse me. It changes when there's no parenthetical reference. Frederick Lane, 2002, reports that employers, if I go to the works cited, I would see Lane, Frederick, and right after that's going to be the date, 2002. APA is more concerned with when something was published. Okay? That's why they focus on that. They don't do parenthetical reference necessarily at the end of the sentence. But we're not doing them, we're doing MLA. So, I'm just trying to show you the difference. And so, I saw some people quoted in their compare and contrast essays, and they kind of did more APA, or they did something that really wasn't documentation, but they got their point across. It came from someone. And so, author unknown, that's going to happen. Some of you had articles that didn't have authors. And so you would say, on the summary you would say, you would give me that you had the citation right, and you would see that it came from Gale Opposing Viewpoints. And so later on in your essay, instead of saying the author or the article discusses this, it also goes on to discuss this, you would go, Gale mentions that, and Gale's not the author, Gale's a database. You don't reference a database because Gale has millions of articles in it. You can't reference the database. That's wrong, okay? So, and, you know, I didn't kill you on that part, but don't ever reference the database, okay? Not in your integrating. Go ahead. Good luck. Enjoy your first day. You know what grade you're going to be dealing with? Or age?
No, probably babies.
Babies, okay. All right. Have fun. I'll see you Thursday. Okay. She's starting a new job. Okay, so when we go back over, we're going to see a popular keystroke logging program operates invisibly on workers' computers, yet provides supervisors with details of the workers' online activities. Automatically is the first word in the title. And because it's an internet source, there's not a page number. So when you quote from a blog, you can't give me a page number. So all you can do is go automatically and that, or give me enough of the title so that I know which source it was on the works cited. You don't have to say automatically, you know, monitoring employees' computer use. You don't have to give me the whole title, just the first word. Except if the title is the, you can't just put the, because lots of things start with the. You'd have to put the need for employers to monitor employees' computer usage, right? Something along those lines. So you got to give me enough of the title so that it's not just the. Don't ever just give me. So that's that one, all right? So that's mine, that's down and dirty, but you can see parenthetical reference is always at the end of the sentence, punctuation goes after it, and it doesn't matter where the quote ends, it's the end of the sentence. And because APA is more concerned with the date something happens, and I actually told somebody did their summary over cell phone usage, but the date on the article was 2004. That's 17 years ago. Cell phone usage is, you know, and the person was predicting cell phone usage was going to explode. But is it really relevant to what's going on with cell phones right now? You know, because they were talking about, I think, how they were bad. Okay, how they could be dangerous. And so you might want to make sure that with these topics, you know, if you're talking about cell phones in 2004, it's not 2021. I could live with 2018, 2019, but 2004 is probably not a great source. But APA doesn't care about interrupting the flow of sentence. Modern Language Association is what MLA stands for. And we want, by putting parenthetical reference at the end of the sentence, you don't interrupt the flow of the idea. The sentence goes smoothly. So
So when you read a popular keystroke logging program operates invisibly on workers' computers, yet provides supervisors with details of the workers' online activities, the idea is not stopped. But if I go, Frederick Lane says, Frederick Lane, 2004, says that it interrupts what's going on. And so we're more concerned about the language in the MLA, all right? So, let's go, I'm gonna shut that down. Let's go look at the one that says, it's one page, it says integrating quotations MLA. It's a big, big document. No, that's not it. That's not where I wanna be. Oh, I still have all this stuff, I'm sorry. I guess I closed down that article. I need the PDF. Here we go. So, this is a short version, it's a lot like the one that I did. I thought, but it doesn't hurt to repeat it one more time. So, a quotation should be effectively integrated into your paragraph by setting it up and interpreting it. So one of the things I want to point out is, don't ever end a paragraph with a quote. Because what you're leaving the reader with is somebody else's ideas. If you have a quote at the end of a paragraph, you need to come back and basically tell me what it means. So I know you know what it means, or how it affects your topic, okay? There are 3 ways to incorporate it. Use an introductory phrase, and so they show you how to do it. As Rodriguez argues, comma, the American conversation about race has always been a black and white conversation. There's parenthetical reference again. The American conversation about race has always been a black and white conversation. See how that comma goes inside the quotation mark? Claims Rodriguez, 406. You can introduce the quote with the sentence that sets it up by using a colon. That's all right. Rodriguez uses his own observation of neighborhoods in California to demonstrate that cultural assimilation happens naturally when people live in close proximity. Here's the colon, here's the quote. Culture is fluid, you breathe it, you eat it, you can't help hearing it. Sounds like an interesting article, I might want to read that, you know. The more I read this, I'm becoming intrigued by it. Now, or you can splice the quotation into the flow of your own sentence. So Rodriguez thinks that U.S., somebody's going to have to help me with the words, should adopt the Mexican model of a mestizaje? Is that how you would say that? It's on the page right there. It's number 3, the first sentence on number 3. How do you say that? You know, Isaiah? Mestizaje. I've never, it's not mestizo, I know how to say that, but that's different. And it says mestizaje society, which means, okay, so that's how you split the quote up. And then I like the next one though. When a girl calls herself a Blaxican, Rodriguez argues that by reinventing language, she's reinventing America. So that's kind of cool, you know. And so we're going to talk about what's going on in there. You've got, there's a quote, then Rodriguez argues, and then we have B. The B in this quote has brackets around it. And the reason for that is, most likely in the article, that this was a complete sentence on its own. By reinventing language, she is reinventing America is a complete thought. But you don't bring a quote and put it in your essay and have it start with a capital letter unless it's a proper noun. So you put brackets around it to show that it should be a lowercase b, because this is all a essential dependent clause. By reinventing that, that's what's going on in there. So you have to make your sentence grammatically work with what you've got going on in there, whether it's for meaning or for grammar issues. You have to change things if needed. So they talk about, here's what's going on in these sentences. No matter if your quotation appears at the beginning, middle, or end of the sentence, that citation goes at the end. Always. Write always and circle that above there. Okay? If the author is not included, include the author's name in the citation. Rodriguez 410. Okay? If you have an exclamation point or a question mark or part of your sentence, here's where I'm going to say don't do questions. I don't like them. I keep saying it. They keep showing up. If you want to keep making a poor grade, keep using questions. Okay? If it's you're asking the question, not your source. So put them outside the quotation mark like this. So if I say like this and a question mark after the quotation mark, then I know it's your thoughts, you're asking the question. But put them inside the quotation if they are part of the quotation. So if your title ends in a question for your article, you know, and what can we do to stop drivers from talking on their phone? Question mark. That could be in quotation marks. That's fine, because it's part of the title. So it would go inside it. Use ellipsis if you're cutting material, like it did in the number 2 above, and then use brackets to show changes you made to a quotation for it to fit grammatically into the sentence, okay? So that's that one. So that's what's going on. And I'm gonna be honest, the reason I don't like questions is because so frequently students use them and don't answer them. And don't ever, ever, ever end an essay with questions. And guess what? On the compare and contrast, people wanted to end their compare. So which would you choose? So not in addition to asking a question, you also use second person, okay? And it made it informal, formal documents. We gotta go back to that, okay? So now we're down to the last one, the big one that has, I thought I got out of that one. I'm gonna leave that one. Here we go. It's the one that has, when to quote at the beginning of it. Give me a chance. I need to say, woo, this is a quick one. One of the things it tells you is that quotations can enliven your writing, so you need to have reasons. When to quote. Memorable language. If the writer says it so much better than you could write it, quote it, okay? If their language is clear and concise and there's no way you could paraphrase it without destroying the meaning, use their words. Authoritative. Use quotations to give the authority of the expert who's giving the information. So that's a way to also lengthen your paper. So quotations from authoritative sources can be useful in supporting your argument. And don't worry, you're not going to be doing analysis, so don't worry about it. So it goes over how to integrate, and this is basically, we've covered this on the other 2 pages. So you've got Friedman states Bittman is hardly alone in his reflexive dismissals. Okay, this is something I saw on the summary. You would have the articles written by Friedman, but Friedman's quoting Bittman, and all of a sudden, there were no author tags. The sentence would begin with, Bittman says this, then Bittman said that, and you've left the author tag. The author tag is always the author of the article, not the person they're quoting. That's one of those confusing things. So vary the placement of your signal phrases. You can put it at the end. We saw that earlier. Or you can split it up. Here we've got a quote, denying humanity goes all the way to them, argues Olson, and science has alongside history. You can combine paraphrase with quotation to capture the idea. This is a combination of paraphrase and quoting with the sentence above it. Science has contributed to the long sad history of atrocities justified by denying the humanity of other people. Olson 13. So include the credentials of the author. If you need more words, figure out who your author is. Do they have the credentials? William McDonough, green architect and co-author of Cradle to Cradle, states, nature operates according to a system of nutrients, metabolism, in which there is no such thing as waste. So we now know, as a green architect, that means he has studied how to environmentally safe build houses or buildings. So he's written a book. So and yours is in italicized. I italicized it earlier today. So that makes him an authority. But if I go John Smith, local builder from Post, Texas, probably not as legitimate a source, right? I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing, but this guy probably has more credentials. And so the better the credentials, the more valid what information you're given, okay? So to alter a quote, use brackets, whether it's for grammar or if you have an indefinite pronoun use. If your quote begins with, it is important that, I need to know who it is. And actually, I think I got a paraphrase, and somebody's quote began with it, and I have no idea who it is. So when you paraphrase it, you have to tell the reader who it is, because we don't know. So you've got, like this one, Poland argues that to escape the Western diet, lots of words in brackets, we must simply depart the realms, it rules, the supermarket, the convenience store, and the fast food restaurant. We must simply, I would guess that Poland actually sentence reads to escape the Western diet, depart the realms that rule. You as the implied subject. You can't have you as the implied subject of a sentence in your essay. So you have to put in, you would have to go, we must depart the realms that rule. Okay. And then you've got it. Or to shorten it, use an ellipsis where you leave out information. American gas stations now make more money selling foods, whatever, than gasoline. Okay. And to quote someone quoted in your source, this is what I recommend. So they probably should have put this a little bit earlier. Include the phrase quoted in your parenthetical reference. So here we have Gladys Block, Berkeley professor and epidemiologist, says, I don't believe anything I read in nutritional epidemiology anymore. Quoted in Poland, 78. And that solves the problem. It says, and what it says is you should go look it up if possible. No, you're not writing that long of an essay. I don't want you to spend your time trying to find the original source. You can just go quoted in Poland, 78, and I know where the quote came from. If you don't put quoted in Poland in there, then all I can go with is block in 78, and if there's no block on your works cited, that's a source not credited in your works cited. There's a problem there. So that's why you need to say quoted in. And this is about block quotations, but I'm going to be honest, I don't want you to quote more than 4 lines from somebody, because it's too easy to just stick a bunch of big block quotes in your essay, and you got your 100 words and you've not said anything, okay? Work on the notion that when you write the paper, there should be no more, when Turnitin comes in, I better not see more than 35% as quoted. Or if it says 45, what I'll do is I'll go in and look at your quotes, and then I'll look at the works cited. Because if you've got 4 sources on your works cited, that becomes a big percentage of your paper, because it is turned in as part of the paper, though it doesn't count in the word count, okay? So that's all I got for today. Thursday, we're going to talk about how to do the works cited, how to send it out. Do some research tomorrow. Find articles. Bring your computers. We'll figure out how to get it done, okay? How to show you how I can create a works cited in under 5 minutes versus taking 3 hours back in the day when I had to type every single word out myself, okay? And then we're going to review for the apostrophe quiz, so be sure and make sure you have your apostrophe pages with you, okay? I got faster and I got slower and slower every class I've taught on this. That's funny. I mean, we finished at 9:35 yesterday morning for my first class. I was like, maybe I didn't tell them enough. That was a concern.
Bye, you have a good one.
Bye. Pacer, go for it.
Your conference is scheduled to end in 2 minutes. Your conference is now over. Goodbye.
There we go. That's amazing.